That's a team that should, do some damage in the NCAA tournament. Carr for Michigan State, he probably the best finisher in the entire NCAA. I got a chance to see him perform very early in his career. I was already giving him heart emojis on Jalen and Jacoby, telling everybody how much I love him. And with that being said, for me, if I had to pick a champion, I would say the Celtics. And they're just so good, so deep. White and Drew Holiday locking down in the backcourt, both making threes. It's just.
Yeah, I naturally have to ask you, man. You're a Michigan guy. That's what you're best known for, playing with the Fab Five, Michigan Wolverines. They just won the Big Ten title tournament. Thoughts on them entering the tournament? What do you think their ceiling is?
Trey Donaldson, did you see him blur up and down the floor reminiscent of Tyus Edney in UCLA? Trey went coast to coast and finished it with the left to get us into the Big Ten championship. That right there, in watching this team develop over the season, it gave me the glimpse of what I felt the potential of this squad can be, in particular playing outside of the Big Ten where your opponents are so familiar. And when you have two 7-footers like the Wolverines and what I call my guy, the Wolf on Main Street, when you squint really close and he's playing well, he looks like our Joker of the Denver Nuggets. Now, he has his games where he's been struggling to have high turnovers and, he's a wild card. But when he's going, and then Golden, living his life like he's golden. Is that Jill Scott? Yeah, he turned over both shoulders, left, right, finishing at the hoop, two 7-footers. You don't see that very often. So now when they start playing teams outside of the conference, I just think that size is going to give teams problems. And that's probably why you said that that's the favorite that a lot of people are betting, where I don't sound like, oh, he's an alum, oh, he's being a homer. It's like they really have the potential to play in a half court, make threes. Dusty May's done a great job of instituting, so many plays to get them open shots and gets them good looks, but also that balance to play on the interior. So, I mean, that's a team that should, do some damage in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, obviously they're in the same region as Auburn, but you mentioned they have a Final Four coach, Dusty May. He did it with FAU. They've got Golden, who played for him at FAU. They got the bigs, they got Donaldson. How far do you think that they go? Do you think it's conceivable that they could go to the Final Four?
So as a fan first, just following the NCAA tournament just my entire life and the enthusiasm of filling out the brackets, right? And just, wanting to be a part of one shining moment and to be able to like achieve, be the son of someone that played in the NCAA, Jimmy Walker at Providence, but then also be able to achieve that is like an incredible journey to see like how the game has grown and how the sport has really um, done a terrific job of keeping this part of the year so very sacred and bringing in the casual fan, and you can say it for whatever word you want to use, but in the in the best interest of betting is why we ultimately fill out our NCAA brackets or bragging rights, which equal money in a lot of ways. And so I'm just really excited about the potential of Michigan for sure, and I think the sky's the limit for what they possibly could do.
I hear you, Jalen. I want to touch upon another program, obviously a well-known program. The Duke Blue Devils have an amazing season. Cooper Flagg's there. He's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. He suffered the ankle injury, obviously, in the ACC tournament. He'll return during the NCAA tournament. But thoughts on them? And would you say they're maybe your favorites or the favorites to win the national championship?
So the one thing about having great players, those plays look a lot better when they're out there on the floor performing them versus how they look on the chalkboard. And so for Duke, I mean, the elephant in the room is his health and his ankle. If he's going to be out there, I mean, the sky's the limit for their potential as well. And he's already shown the kind of promise that has people talking about him as a top flight draft pick in the NBA going into next year. And, a couple of teams getting accused of possibly even trying to tank so they could try to acquire him. So he is that good. And so, yes, if he is a part of what they're trying to do, he wasn't obviously in the conference tournament, but if he is a part of what they're doing. Oh, and another team I mentioned, as you talked about, could Michigan make the Final Four? Yes, but I also want to mention somebody I admire and respect a lot, Bruce Pearl, and what he's done with that Auburn program, and just being able to watch BP for so many stops. And a good friend of mine was his associate head coach, was my JV coach in high school, Tony Jones. So I really follow their program very closely also. So those are teams that they're identity squads. That's what I like about college basketball in particular. Like Michigan State, for example, they're an identity squad. They have Tom Izzo, and I'm disappointed in how my Wolverines showed up against them. But I was happy for Tom Izzo because I love him too. And just to see players that I covered or played against, like a Jason Richardson, to see his team now, his son now playing and performing the way he is. And Carr for Michigan State, he probably the best finisher in the entire NCAA. And so those are going to be, great players along with Cooper to watch, see how they perform in the NCAA tournament. And pretty sure people are going to be placing some bets on those names.
I hear you, man. If I put you on the spot and I ask you who's your personal favorite to win the national championship, who would you say?
So as a player, and I was getting to this before, I don't want to physically fill out a bracket actually to the last minute or the last second before the last game, before anything, ankle injury, sick, somebody catches a cold. You bettors out there, you can feel what I'm saying. Like we gonna wait as long as we can. We're gonna try to get the odds when we can. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of stuff can happen. So I haven't submitted my official bracket, and we still like even for tomorrow, I'm covering those games. I'm covering the 16 seed games tomorrow for the play-in. So while I anticipate, for example, San Diego State is going to be in, it's hard for me to look at my bracket, and I'm kind of a neat freak. I still write even when they were teaching us how to write in school. So I want my penmanship to look good. I don't want it to be crossed out multiple times. But I'm picking San Diego State to still find a way to beat Carolina.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, Jalen. I want to tackle some NBA related topics before we wrap things up. One of your former teams, the Denver Nuggets, obviously having a good season this year, but their goal is to win a championship. They came up short last year. They've shown some weaknesses this year. They lost to the Wizards recently. Thoughts on the Nuggets this year, and how do they project entering the playoffs against a team maybe like the Thunder? What is their ceiling?
So just watching, the Joker become the best player in basketball for anybody that watched me cover the NBA for the past 16 years. Once I got a chance to see him perform very early in his career, I was already giving him heart emojis on Jalen and Jacoby, telling everybody how much I love him because he's a do-it-all type of player. It's usually the guy that's going to get you 30 and 10 boards is not going to be the guy that is flirting with leading the league in assists and triple doubles. Usually that's two or three, four different players. And also going to shoot around 40% from three. Usually the guy that's getting you 12 rebounds ain't shooting 40% from three. And so takes advantage of smaller matchups, just dominant against bigs. Those three-time MVP. Like, I think the last person to do that was Larry Bird. So that's just having him gives you a chance. Like so many times, and that happened in this era where people feel like I'm going to change teams and therefore now I'm going to automatically be in a position to win a championship. We've seen this just happen for a couple of guys and it didn't work out on paper the way they hoped it would. And so for the Joker, having him, like my coach Perry Watson used to say, we should win because we got you. And so he's in that category. But I think as I watch, even I believe Malik Beasley spent some time in Denver, and KCP, who I think led the league in 3-point percentage possibly when he was with the Nuggets. I just think losing a couple of shooters in the backcourt is going to cost them in the playoffs because it doesn't give Murray and the Joker the room they need. I love Aaron Gordon, how he's going to take advantage of matchups and, dunk on anybody that, he's able to rim run and, compete defensively. And Michael Porter Jr. could get hot with the best of them. His jumper, it just looks like it's going in every time. But they'll be in the conversation because they have the Joker. I think I would say that they were my favorite if they had that other shooter. I like that Russ is giving them, energy. He's giving them productivity, but I just think they're missing a backcourt shooter. And so, but they are in the conversation. But you can't overlook what OKC's done because, the way they running away with the league and just watching how they beat my Pistons the other night, it's been really professional watching how they performed under with SGA all season.
Yeah, since we're on the topic of NBA Finals and championship contenders and whatnot, who would be your two top teams to play in the NBA Finals, and who would be your winner? If I ask you right now.
If you're going to throw the seeds out, I would have to go with the two teams I just mentioned in the Western Conference Finals, likely, and that's Denver and OKC. You look in the rearview mirror at a few other teams that may have puncher's chances. Anything can happen. Somebody get to playing well or injuries, but I'm gonna go with the team that I've seen do it recently with the MVP that has three straight versus the team that I just saw run away with the league this year, and the guy that's probably going to be this year's MVP with the deepest team in the league in OKC. For the East, I think it's just it's only the Celtics for me. It really is. It's only the Celtics. If they're playing their best basketball, they should be. I ain't gonna say fo 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 like my guy Moses back in the day. You youngsters, Google it. Historians, you know what it is. And if you're talking about people that rebound and you placing your bets and you're trying to get this $5 million in fast cash, you got to get them guys that rebound like Moses Malone. And with that being said, for me, if I had to pick a champion, I would say the Celtics. And they're just so good, so deep. White and Drew Holiday locking down in the backcourt, both making threes. It's just, the wings they have. Remember, there were people actually saying they should break up Tatum and Brown, which was always insane. And Porzingis, the factor, and he and Al give you up front. So Pritchard off the bench. They just have a wealth of riches that if they're healthy, they should win it.